Thank you to American Financing for sponsoring this video.
I'm sure you get where we're going with this one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So researchers say a single adult needs to make more than about $138,000 to live, and a family of four needs more than about $318,000.
Well, with numbers like that, it's no wonder living in New York feels impossible right now. And the most shocking thing is that rents, even though they're sky high right now, don't tell the whole story, as literally everything in this town is waiting to bankrupt someone the moment they leave their apartment. And that's why nobody here can ever say they feel like they've made it.
New York City is the most expensive city in the world. Rents are sky high. There are record numbers of violations for private landlords this year. For 6 years, we've gone into countless homes.
Buying a cut of meat will cut a bigger chunk out of your wallet. Prices are now up 10%, with the USDA expecting prices to rise another 20% this year.
Higher prices pretty much across the board, so that does make it more difficult to set extra money aside or make any long-term plans.
We're living in two separate economies. The American dream that was pitched to the Gen Xers and the Boomers is no longer present.
A lot of people, particularly the working class and the part of the middle class, don't think their children will be as well off as they will. That's a problem.
Over the course of the year, they might make enough money to pay for basic living expenses and cover their bills. But if one major thing happens, then they can get behind.
What do you do? What do you do here for those looking for more comfortable life financially decisions here? They say you should just move to Texas.
Okay.
What?
So this article says if you live in Manhattan, you've got $30,000 of spending power after you pay your bills and eat something. But what nobody's talking about is as bad as the costs of living are here today, they're only going to get worse tomorrow because the unaffordability crisis here is one of the worst in the country. And as you're about to see, anyone making six figures a year here, someone who'd normally find themselves in the upper 22% of American households, gets to live like a starving college student as the necessities of life, like food and shelter, cost more here for reasons that should not exist, but do. Because in this city, we've passed truckloads of progressive laws that are meant to help people, but just end up driving them straight into the poorhouse. And the first of those would be New York City's hated congestion taxes, which toll every car and truck on the road just for driving. That money is supposed to be used to save Mother Earth and rejuvenate our subway, but it's doing neither. And instead, the effects are being passed on to those buying food at grocery stores delivered by truck. Add to that the taxes and fees paid by every business just to exist. And it's no wonder everything you buy here costs an arm and a leg. And that brings us to the real reason living expenses here just go up and up and up and up. It's the law. And those laws, not only are they not changing, but soon they may get even worse. And experts are saying that in just a few weeks, apartment prices are about to go through the roof. As in addition to managing and repairing these buildings using contractors like plumbers who drive trucks and get taxed just for showing up, landlords will soon be forced to pay the broker's fees for every apartment rented in town, which at first might sound good, but will just end up raising rents because landlords only get their money from one person, and that's the person who pays rent. And as you're about to see, even if you live in a nice apartment here, you're still fighting a losing battle. That's a pretty cool two-bedroom. Now, the rent is gonna blow your mind. It's $63.95 per month, and if that sounds like a lot, there's another two-bedroom in here, and it's $1,000 cheaper, but no deck, so you'll have to decide if you want this nice patio or not. But on the plus side, it's massive compared to everything else you'll find around here. I guess the only problem with it is if you move into a place like this and you feel broke after paying the rent every month for the first year, that feeling might not go away next year, especially if the rent goes up, which it might have to because we're in the middle of a housing crisis. But as you're about to see, that's not the only reason people are having trouble getting by in this city.
This is a mock monthly household budget for an American family in 1985. We can see that most expenses scaled with inflation, with a few exceptions. But these numbers are not accounting for a big X factor.
Millennials have larger student loan balances, bigger mortgages, much bigger car payments than...
So even though some expenses might feel like they've gone way up, a lot of what we pay for regularly has kept pace with inflation, except for the two things you might need to get a place like this. And we're talking about credit card debt and household debt. Household debt would be your student loans. If you've got a degree, you might have those. And with spending power in this city being as low as it already is, if you've got to pay back the cost of your degree on top of that, it is very well possible that you could find yourself fighting a losing battle for financial independence. Especially when you consider that a $100,000 income here is only worth about 30 grand once you've paid your rent and fed yourself. Your money is gonna be gone before you know it, especially since the value of that $100,000 pay gives you $500 less of spending power in 2025 than it did in 2024. And as you're about to see, the traditional methods of taking care of yourself while avoiding bankruptcy aren't available to many like they used to be.
We're living in two separate economies. The American dream that was pitched to the Gen Xers and the Boomers is no longer present in today's world.
A lot of people, particularly the working class and the part of the middle class, don't think their children will be as well off as they were. That's a problem.
So this video claims that the American idea of owning a home and having low debt just doesn't exist like it used to, especially for people who might be exerting themselves to a greater degree than ever just to pay rent. And part of the reason for that is if rents rise 5 to 10% per year in certain apartments and your raise is about the same, your ability to get a job and start climbing an economic ladder just doesn't really exist. And it's certainly not the fault of the landlords. They're not the ones blocking the construction of new buildings that would make them more money and free up housing for renters. They also don't set property tax rates either, which when those go up, essentially force everyone else's rent up, and that's something that nobody talks about. And to many people, rising rents, rising grocery store prices, and then fees like congestion taxes, which make it impossible to drive, those might make it sound like moving out of New York City is a better idea than moving in if you don't have a specific purpose to be here. And as you're about to see, even if you decide to move out of a place like Manhattan and go somewhere else, the grass isn't actually any greener as far as affordability is concerned.
When we look at home buying, as we all know, we're in historically tight housing markets. There are very few homes on the market, and those that are on the market are extremely expensive, not to mention expensive mortgage rates. And the prices of homes has escalated over the last few decades much faster than actual incomes. So it is actually...
So let's imagine for a second that one were to move out of New York City and maybe accept a mid to upper level position at a company somewhere else where the cost of living is lower. Well, you still might not experience the financial independence people say they leave the city to go and get. And that's because buying a home in 2025 America, well, it's harder than it's ever been. And if you can't buy a home, you're gonna be paying rent somewhere, and your rent's just gonna always go up and eat into what you are earning. And it's not like things improve in other parts of New York City either. Yes, we're in a premium part of town where there's a popularity tax to the neighborhood, but in Brooklyn and in Queens, you're not exactly saving money either. And we're not even talking about home ownership. If you rent in Brooklyn, you get about an extra 10 grand of spending power. In Queens, it's relatively similar, revealing that there certainly is no such thing as a free lunch in this town or any town in America anymore. And in New York City, the housing shortage is just being made worse, in spite of the fact that people are passing laws that are trying to help. And the problem is prices still keep going up, and our leaders are considering even more extreme measures to try and save people money, which may actually completely destroy the housing market here even further and faster. And we're not just talking about landlords having to pay more money to rent their apartments. We're talking about other policies that restrict the supply of available apartments when what we need are more apartments. Like a recent policy which eliminated the ability of landlords to bring an apartment to market if it previously had rent control. And as you're about to see, rising home prices do more than just threaten the short-term futures of New Yorkers and Americans. They also put the long-term futures and expectations of all of us in grave jeopardy. And this is happening in ways nobody ever expected. With everything happening in the economy, it feels like we're walking on shaky ground. Prices are stuck at really high levels, and it seems like nothing is affordable anymore. It's no wonder why many are relying on credit cards to cover gaps. But because of that, credit card debt is skyrocketing, and it's leaving a lot of people tapped out. But if you're a homeowner, you don't have to face this uncertainty alone. My friends at American Financing can help you take control. They can help you access the equity in your home to help you pay down that high interest credit card debt, giving you peace of mind and real savings. On average, people like you are saving around $800 a month, and they may be able to close your loan in as little as 10 days. Don't let the chaos of the economy get the best of you. Call America Financing now. It costs you nothing to get started, and you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you a cushion in this uncertain time. Here's what you need to do. Call 866-890-4844. That's 866-890-4844. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net/cash. So, in a country where you can't afford to rent anything, let alone buy anything, the traditional way that Americans have built wealth for themselves and for their families through home ownership is just not there anymore like it used to be. And that's a problem. Whether you live in New York, whether you move and take your money with you, if you can't experience that, there are some people who now think it has doomed our entire country, which may or may not be true.
Not being able to save for a home has big retirement implications for millennials and Gen Z.
Those who don't own homes, now those are people who are in real trouble. They're trying to save to get their own place. They're paying high rent somewhere. They're commuting a long distance or trying to work at home so they can save a check.
So the idea here is that homes are just so expensive and so overpriced that you'll never be able to buy one, and thus that American dream will always be out of reach. But I've got a pretty logical question here. If you go out and buy a home, and it was a home you could barely afford, and you were so fortunate that you were one of the people that earned enough money to go and buy that place, who's gonna come along and buy it from you, right? Like, if you were the only person that could buy it, how do you expect that in 20 years there's gonna be millions of people out there who can go and buy your place and allow it to appreciate? If job growth and wages look like they're stagnating while home prices are just going up, the idea that home ownership is a stable 30-year plan to spend nothing on living costs, well, that idea is just gone now, isn't it? Because there might not be anybody around to buy your house in 20 or 30 years. And now the experts are saying buying a home is a bad idea, and most people will lose money doing this. Warren Buffett says that interest, property taxes, and insurance account for a significant portion of your monthly mortgage payments. And unless you just bought a rundown New York City apartment, you'll probably want to repair the place. Something that our housing crisis here doesn't force homeowners to do, as things appreciate no matter what, but only if you're one of the few who was ever able to buy something here. And instead of scraping your funds together to try and buy a property that's so overpriced you could barely afford it, and no one who comes after you will be able to afford it, perhaps you should look at something other than home ownership. That's what the Warren Buffetts, the Dave Ramseys of the world, and even the Graham Steffans of the world are telling people. The idea is you can do just fine for yourself if you pursue other, easier to acquire investments than a piece of property. And now the prevailing wisdom seems to be that someone could buy stocks or bonds or investments. And according to the experts, these types of investments don't have any of the problems owning a home would have, like the government coming after you with higher property taxes. You certainly don't have to pay a whole lot to maintain a stock portfolio. And look, even if your life's a disaster and you're really hard up, you could make some lifestyle choices today that would help you get ahead tomorrow. And none of those involve trying to own some piece of property.
Blaming millennials for spending too much on avocado toast.
It's not student loans or a tough job market keeping millennials from buying homes. It's reportedly avocado toast.
The one piece of advice for young people out there who are spending their money on avocado toast and don't have any goals, what would you say to them?
I would say to them,
get as much pleasure out of saving as you do spending.
So if you were to buy less stuff at places like this candy store, you'd have more money for other things that might actually bring you some long-term benefit. Longer than the benefit you'll get from eating these turtle chips or even these Smart Puffs in cosmic white cheddar. Buying your own food, making it at home, that's the best way to start saving some money. And if you're willing to make your own coffee at home, make your own salads, you won't go broke buying something even like fast food, which is now way more expensive than it used to be. And you certainly won't have to try and live a life of crime to get ahead, which is wrong and doesn't pay. Certainly is a lot of burglary going on in this neighborhood, but speaking of burglary, the real theft happens from things that we don't even think about, like DoorDash. I mean, delete that immediately. There's no reason to be paying for someone to bring you food from some restaurant. That's just an expensive way to live, and it's gonna give you no benefit. And look, if you're so self-conscious that you don't want to be seen without a latte in your hand, you can buy some latte cups on Amazon for cheaper than buying actual lattes at Starbucks. You can get 100 cups for $25. That's like 6 lattes at Starbucks right there. What's up, man? Does it work?
It works.
It works? All right. Does it ever get so heavy you got to take it down?
As soon as I catch any fish that's heavy, I put in the biscuit.
Awesome, man. But the thing here to be wary of is lifestyle creep. If you've got to have that $12, $15 salad after you've had a $7 breakfast somewhere, you're gonna dig yourself a financial hole before you even get home. And if that happens, you're not gonna be able to take advantage of any of the opportunities that are out there, even if they're different opportunities. What do you think about that? Is lifestyle creep the problem that a lot of people have with their future? Are they mortgaging it away today on stuff like Netflix and salads and Taco Bell? Or is that the American dream, Netflix and Taco Bell? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.